Hi, Bob Zito at Trinity Asheville. Welcome to the first week of Advent. We begin year C in our 3-year lectionary cycle. Our readings for the liturgical year will focus primarily on Luke's Gospel. If you live anywhere in America, the Christmas season commenced long ago. In October, before Halloween, Dana and I took the dogs for a walk at the Biltmore Estate. We were enjoying the warmth of what seemed to be almost a summer day. As we walked up and around Antler Village and looked at the shops past the winery, it suddenly happened. There it was, cool jazz Christmas carols. We hadn't even observed Halloween, All Saints Day, Thanksgiving. Nope, we were right into Christmas. In the secular world, the office parties have started. Many cities have already featured an annual pub crawl. This is a curious event when young people dress up in Santa costumes and go from bar to bar in the middle of the day trying to consume as much alcohol as possible. I don't understand the point of this. I guess it's about being with your friends and participating in wild revelry under the guise of a Christmas holiday. There is certainly nothing wrong with Christmas revelry. And yet when we get to church on Sunday during this time of year, we hear readings that are out of sync with all the fun going on outside. The readings are solemn. Indeed, I dare say that they are dark. In the Sunday's gospel, Jesus talks about foreboding signs of great distress among the nations, a roaring of the sea and the waves, people fainting. Of course, Jesus is talking about eschatology, the end times, the end of an old era and the coming of a new era, when Jesus, the Messiah, will return in great triumph. We don't know exactly when this will happen, but our theology tells us that it will indeed happen, and the cosmic powers of evil will be destroyed, and the cosmos will all be restored in perfect peace and goodness. At Christmas, the Feast of the Incarnation, we not only celebrate the birth of Jesus, but we observe his coming again in great glory. This is pretty heavy news if you have had a week of office parties or if you have just completed a pub crawl. The word Advent comes from the Latin word adventus, meaning to come. It is a time for solemn preparation as we wait for the birth of Jesus and for his coming again. In years past, Advent was observed as a mini Lent with fasting and extensive prayer. It was not a time for parties and revelry. This did not happen until Christmas Day. Traditionally, there are 12 days of Christmas, beginning on Christmas Day and continuing on until January 6th, the Feast of the Epiphany. So we have the ancient tradition of observing a period of fasting prior to the period of feasting, which makes perfect sense because fasting, prayer, and solemn observance makes a feasting celebration that much more enhanced by the contrast. Try abstaining from eating meat for a period of time. When you go back, you will notice how much more flavorful the meat will seem after your taste buds have been deprived of it for a while. It would be unrealistic for me to suggest that we observe Advent in monastic fashion. We are not called to be monks or nuns. Nevertheless, this time of year presents a terrific opportunity to take some time to journey within, to go deep within oneself. The season cries out for it. As the calendar begins to mark time towards the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the days will draw shorter and shorter. As the bears and other animals start to hibernate, so we too tend to stay close to home and spend much more time indoors and with indoor activities like reading. We even tend to sleep late to recharge the soul and the body. It's a good time to sip tea beside the warmth of a fire. It's a good time to think about the past and how we might want to change our lives a bit. It's a good time to think about hopes for the future, meaningful hopes like how we spend our time. It's a good time to think about how we can get closer to God. All of these thoughts and hopes are like seeds being sown during winter that will hopefully blossom in the spring with the great feast of Easter. I no longer get bothered by Christmas carols in October. I'm going to go with the flow. After all, Christmas is for all people, despite what their particular traditions might be. After all, Jesus came to the world for all people. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And if the secular season doesn't perfectly coincide with our sacred church calendar, let's get over it. Let's get on with it. We can all use a little Christmas in every day of our lives. Remember what the evangelist tells us. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, to the end that all that believe in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. This is the message of Christmas. So have a solemn Advent and have a Merry Christmas, no matter what day it is.